Hi, I'm Kiersten and I'm an extension plant pathologist at the University of Kentucky. And today we're going to talk about some of our research that's focusing on comparing the efficacy of late vegetative stage fungicide applications to the more common tasseling fungicide application timing. Now, this research has been a couple years in the making. Traditionally, we've used aerial applications over tasseling corn as our primary way of applying fungicides in corn. With more high clearance application technology available, more applicators and farmers are interested in applying the late vegetative stage fungicide applications in corn. There are several reasons that farmers would be interested in this technology, and one is because they can use their own equipment to get over the corn for the fungicide application, and it also allows them a little bit more flexibility in timing. When they're able to apply these fungicides with the ground equipment, there are some questions though about if these applications are giving them the same fungicide efficacy and disease control that we would see with our more standard tasseling fungicide timing. We have over a decade of research that shows that the optimum time to control foliar diseases like gray leaf spot and northern corn leaf blight is at that tasseling early silking timing. And so how these late vegetative stage applications in that V12 to V14 stage range, how they influence disease efficacy is still something that we're trying to understand. Today we're going to look at some research that's funded by the Kentucky Corn Growers Association to compare the application timings and see what type of disease efficacy we're getting. In this trial, we're looking at fungicide efficacy of a V12 fungicide application compared to a tasseling application. And the first plot we always have is a plot where we have sprayed no fungicide at all. We consider that our untreated check, and we're going to look at the disease levels in that and compare that to what we're seeing in our fungicide treated plots. Now, in this particular control plot, you can see that we do have some diseases like gray leaf spot, some northern corn leaf blight, some southern rust, and a few other minor diseases in this plot. The majority of these foliar diseases are confined to the lower canopy this year because we haven't had the adequate moisture that we need in this particular location to see really explosive disease severity. But this is still enough disease that we're able to see treatment differences in our fungicide applications. The next plot we're going to look at is where we applied a fungicide at V12 with our ground equipment. And you can see by looking in here that it is much cleaner. We do have less foliar disease severity, not only in the upper canopy, but also in the mid and lower canopy as well. Here we're looking at a plot that's been sprayed with a tasseling fungicide application. And you can see also, again, a reduction in disease severity compared to our untreated control, and similar levels of disease control compared to where we applied fungicide at V12. So what we're seeing this year is that our V12 and VT applications are both providing adequate disease control or reduction in foliar disease severity compared to where we didn't spray anything at all. Now, we've seen this in previous years as well. In 2019, our V12 applications gave us a similar level of gray leaf spot control as a VT application. And research that's been done in other states has shown that as well, is that V12 and VT applications can be similar in gray leaf spot control in a low to moderate disease pressure year, which is similar to what we're having in 2020. Now, our questions remain on if those V12 applications can provide adequate control of diseases like southern rust, should southern rust come in later in the season. In our trials in 2020, we haven't had a high level of southern rust pressure to measure whether that V12 application can hang on and provide southern rust control as well as a VT application, so that's something that remains to be seen. Something left to measure as well is yield. We want to make sure that we're seeing the same type of yield response from a V12 application as we would from a tasseling application. And again, previous research has shown in low to moderate disease pressure years, we can see an equivalent yield response from these two application timings. However, some research has shown that in a high disease pressure year, foliar disease control may not be adequately achieved with a V12 application. And so those are some things that we still need to consider while we're trying to decide which application timing is best for Kentucky corn growers. Another project we have on spray technology is looking at the effect of the 360 nozzles on fungicide efficacy, in particular on disease control of some of our foliar diseases in corn. Now these nozzles are actually going to apply the fungicide at the ear leaf and the surrounding leaves to protect those from our foliar diseases. And so you can see from the nozzle pattern here that it's spraying out into the canopy and also directly into the leaves around the ear leaf. And there's also a nozzle that will apply fungicide from above. And so we're interested in comparing the efficacy of these nozzles to the efficacy that we would see from a standard overhead flat fan application that occurs either at the V12 timing or at the tasseling timing. Here we're standing in front of a plot that had a V12 application with the 360 nozzles. And so when we're looking at foliar disease levels in this plot, you can see that they're very low gray leaf spot and other foliar diseases. And you can see that also if you're looking in the mid to lower canopy, we have very low disease levels as well. And a lot of that's due to that 360 mechanism that sprays at the ear leaf and below at the time of application. And we're comparing the fungicide efficacy of the plots that were sprayed with the 360 nozzles to a standard overhead application at V12 with a flat fan nozzle. And you can see the disease severity level here in these plots. We'll compare the fungicide efficacy and disease levels of those plots with our non-treated control, where we didn't spray any fungicide at all. And if you're looking in here, you can see that we have foliar diseases like gray leaf spot, we have a little bit of southern rust, we have some minor diseases like curvularia leaf spot in these plots as well. There is a higher level of these foliar diseases compared to where we applied fungicide. So far, our research shows that the 360 nozzles provide a good level of foliar disease control, especially in the mid to lower canopy. Now, the real question though is that level of disease control needed? We're particularly concerned about foliar disease levels on the ear leaf and above, because anything that inhibits photosynthesis on those tissues can impact yield. And yield is less impacted by foliar disease that appears below the ear leaf. However, those lesions can still contribute to disease severity, and so it will be interesting to see if we see a yield response from those 360 nozzles, and if that's comparable to a tasseling application to make it economically worthwhile to use that type of technology. So one last thing to consider with a V12 application in corn is that sometimes when we use adjuvants or non-ionic surfactants with these applications, it can lead to ear injury. Research has shown that non-ionic surfactants added with an application prior to tasseling can result in something we call arrested ear syndrome, where the kernels don't fill into the tip and the tip of the ear is actually deformed. Non-ionic surfactants included with applications that occur at or past tasseling do not result in this injury. All the factors that contribute to arrested ear injury have not been worked out. Some of it might be hybrid, some can be environment, and some could be the surfactant itself. There are surfactants that are marketed to have less of an impact on this type of injury or ear abnormalities, and if you are going to include a non-ionic surfactant in the tank prior to tasseling, you would want to select one of those products or leave the surfactant out of the tank altogether.